Welcome back to the Big Thinker Universe. In today's episode, we are going to talk about neurodiversity. And you may be wondering, what exactly is neurodiversity? Great question. And if you just do a little search for neurodiversity, there are a lot of resources out there. And really, truly, simply, neurodiversity represents the simple idea that our brains are all unique and different. And to be honest, I think a lot of people distinguish between neurotypical, neurodiverse. I would argue that we are all neurodiverse. It's just a question of how neurodiverse are we. And society being society, if we want to look at this from a scarcity point of view, neurodiversity generally means disorder. And so, as an example, if you look on the right here, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, etc., all fall under the umbrella of neurodiversity. And it's, as I said, listed as disorders. Now, my goal in this little video is to share a little bit of a unique twist. And it's funny because somebody asked me recently, how do you qualify as neurodiverse? I don't believe that you're neurodiverse. First and foremost, we all are. So, yes, I am neurodiverse. But the other thing, and this is where I don't like the current societal view on it, is that it's all treated as disorders and something that should be eliminated and treated. And truly, my thought process is that big pharma and the medical industry would like to medicate the best of me away so that the world can tolerate the rest of me. And the reality is, no, thank you. So here's where I'm going to share my neurodiversity because people, oh, you seem normal. My other favorite phrase that I take exception to is, oh, you're high functioning. So, with respect to those of you who would label others, um, people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. So, I'm going to explain what neurodiversity means to me in particular. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I believe in abundance. And I believe that people who resonate with me as I am are going to work with me and will have fun. If you don't resonate or you want a little less of me, or could you be you but less? No, thank you. So, um, this is not an exhaustive list, but I will share some of the things that I now know to be unique about my brain. And I do want to emphasize and thank Dr. Doug Brackmann. He's got two PhDs in psychology, and he introduced me to a concept called driven. And if you want to check it out after this video, go to iamdriven.com/assessment and take the assessment and see if you're driven or not. Now, when I first looked at the word driven, I ignored it because to me, driven is that crazy person who's always got to be number one. They're working 24/7. They're really driven to succeed. But what I found was that Dr. Doug actually has a very specific definition, and I've come to adore Doug. I love the work he's doing, and so much so that I'm helping develop some other assessments and things like that with him because I want to help people. And so the point of this video is not to judge anyone. The point of this video is to show you how enlightenment and awareness can help. So my neurodiversity in no particular order. First and foremost, I do have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And for the record, I hid that in shame for decades because the world would tell you you're broken and it's wrong, and there's a lot of judgment around it. But the reality is with me, and by the way, everybody who has OCD, their OCD shows up differently. I'm not here to say my OCD is better than yours or mine is less than yours, but the reality is mine is different from yours. So one thing I want you to get out of this video is, and I'm going to quote Dr. Doug on this, we're different, not broken. So one of the things I'm doing in my life is eliminating things like disorder because the word limits me. And I believe in abundance. So for me, obsessive compulsive, I won't get into it, but sometimes it takes me a long time to get things done. And sometimes I'm so hyper focused, I forget that time exists. So my particular version of OCD, you don't need to know all the ins and outs because you're not me. You're not here to treat me. But my OCD, my superpower in the so called disorder is that I get things done. Now, the weakness in that disorder is if I don't want to do something, it's almost impossible. It's not that I'm choosing to not do something. I literally physically can't make myself do something I don't want to. So the reality is I've designed my work, my life around things I want to do. So everything's got to be fun for me. I want to play, I want to enjoy what I do, but part of that is OCD. Now, the next thing, I have something called aphantasia. And this one is actually fascinating because I just thought everybody had this. And it used to bother me. I'll give you an example. Tony Robbins, I went to one of his events and he has this visualization exercise where everybody closes their eyes and they picture themselves holding a lemon and they visualize what the lemon looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like. And then he has everybody in the audience figuratively in their mind take a bite of the lemon. They cut it and they take a bite. And everybody around me is gasping and, they're going, ooh, that was bitter. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And so aphantasia means I don't visualize things in my head like most people do. I'm fascinated because my one of my sons, he can picture a day at the beach and he hears the birds, he hears the waves, he smells the sea air, he feels the water. He can literally close his eyes and completely immerse himself in that experience. My unique brain, and when I close my eyes and visualize things, and you might wonder how this is possible, but just trust me, it is. My brain, when I close my eyes, it's black. All I see is black, and it's like a blackboard with black writing on it. So I actually see words, not sensations. I don't remember sights, I don't remember smells, I don't remember tastes, touch, etc. I remember words that describe it. And people go, wow, that's weird. But the reality is, it's all I've ever known. And to me, it's very normal. So, neurodiversity does require we recognize that we are different and we stop trying to be like each other. Now, the advantage of aphantasia is I view things in words. So literally, when I'm writing a book, I see it in my mind, and then it's just a question of I'm literally taking notes and typing it out. Now, the next one, and by the way, I'm not going to do an exhaustive because we'd be here for days while I list all the weird things in my brain. But the next one, the next label that I struggled with is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD. Now, for the record, I've been told I have this almost all of my life. When I was a kid, I heard things like, why can't you be like other kids? Why can't you sit still? Why don't you pay attention? And my response was, why are you so boring? Adults don't like that. But here's the thing, I struggled with attention deficit hyperactive disorder because I have laser focus. And what I mean by that is I can sit, depending on the day, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm absorbed in something I love to do, I can sit for hours on end. I don't stop to eat. I don't stop because I need to go to the bathroom. I don't stop to talk to other people. And how this shows up in the world is when someone interrupts me, they see a very concentrated face that they assume is anger. I've actually had people say, you don't have to get mad at me, or whoa, I'll come back when you're not so grouchy. And I'm like, what was that? I literally, it's hard to break my concentration. It's like I'm on a different planet and you're asking me to come back and pay attention to whatever you wanted me to. But literally, people laugh at me because I have to set alarms to remind myself that it's lunchtime. I have to stop and eat. Every now and then, stop and go to the bathroom. But I live by alarms on my smartphone. Now, the weakness of that is really hard for me to change gears. So my calendar is very rigidly structured. And what I found was I was trying to get a bunch of things done that I didn't want to do. And therefore, I was building this world where procrastination and stress were inevitable. So, what I realized, and this is where the attention deficit thing comes in, and thanks to Dr. Doug, we don't have the executive function, or I don't have the executive function at the front that helps me regulate my focus. So, again, pharmacies or pharmacology, they got it wrong. They call attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I'm very literal and I don't have attention deficit. But really, what it is the ability to shift focus and control focus. So, neurotypicals, you can say, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this, then I'm going to go spend 10 minutes on that. For me, I lose track of time. So it's my inability to regulate my focus that is considered a disorder by society. Now, for the record, most of the diagnostics are flawed and inherently subjective. It's not like people are doing a chemical test. You know, you don't take a blood test or even a urine test and say, okay, congratulations, you have ADHD. The reality is it's how our brains are structured, how we think, how we perceive, how we act. So, long story short, I am neurodiverse. There's a few others I could list, but I won't bother. But what I realized by taking the driven assessment and learning from Dr. Doug Brackmann that I am, in fact, driven, I can focus on doing the right things. I can focus on meditation. But the reality is, my brain is truly different. 90% of the population has what Dr. Brackmann refers to as a farmer's mind. You're all very happy and comfortable. This is what we call neurotypical. You can do routine, repetitive things, and you're okay with it. Me, I'm one of the 10% that has what Dr. Brackmann refers to as a hunter's brain. And basically, my brain is hypervigilant, on high alert, and I perceive things that most people don't even notice. I register them, I process them. And my superpower in all of this, being very neurodiverse, is that I see patterns before other people do. I've actually been told by people, you're seeing things, you're imagining things, and then later they go, wow, you were right. So I'm very intuitive, I'm very perceptive, and just to be fair, I can be annoyingly literal too. So some people, they'll say, oh, Jeff, do this, and I will do it. But reality is, I don't stop and think, okay, is this something, am I doing the right thing? And what I mean by this, let's pretend you're assembling IKEA furniture, and sometimes the steps, in my opinion, are out of order, but I'm very literal, so I'll try to follow their instructions. And when it doesn't work, I throw the instructions out. I look at all the pieces and I can assemble it in my brain. So the reality is, I view the world very differently. And so what I realized, and this is where self-awareness comes in, I love hanging out with visionary people. On the Colby score, I'm a 4592, which means I have okay follow-up. I have okay with fact finder. I'm very high quick start, and I'm very abstract. If you want to drive me nuts, get into the detailed weeds, give me the specifics of a checklist, start reading me bullet points, show me a slide deck with 57,000 words on a page, I will go nuts. But if you just say, Jeff, I see this big picture thing, what do you think? We'll have a fun conversation. So if you're a big thinking visionary and the world has told you you're broken, let's have a chat about how you instead are different, not broken.